By the end of the lesson, we will recognize the many ways God protects us, relate to the psalmist in gratefulness, declaring God's power of protection, and proclaim our trust in God as our protector in the future. Psalm 91, known as a psalm of protection, is a mystery in that its authorship is unknown and it is without a title. It has been given a Latin title, Qui Habitat, derived from the first verse. In Jewish culture, it is recited before bed and 7 times during a burial ceremony. For some Christians, it is recited on the first Sunday of Lent. And that brings us to our key verse for today, which reads, "When they call on me, I will answer. I will be with them in trouble. I will rescue and honor them." Psalm 91, verse 15. The Hebrew word for dwelleth means to inhabit or remain. In this text, Yeshav describes the importance of remaining in the secret place. While Yeshav can also be translated as merely to sit, this context makes it obvious that the subject of this psalm habitually stays in God's secret place. The Hebrew word for in the secret is seter, or seter, which can refer to a shelter or hiding place. The phrase of God's protection conveys the idea of returning to God's abode, staying constantly in His presence, getting completely acquainted or connected with Him, and resting permanently in Him. The secret place is a refuge, a place of safety, and a covering from all forms of destructive elements that seek to attack or destroy the children of God, and to prevent us from experiencing the fullness of God's blessings and peace, and His divine providence. At least once in Scripture, God's secret place is in the tabernacle. There are 2 metaphors used for God's protection in verse 4, those of wings and of a shield and buckler. The picture is of God protecting His faithful servant as a mother bird protects her children, shielding them from the elements, or as armor protects a soldier going into battle, images that are illuminated in other memorable scriptures. Feathers are ascribed to God only one other place, a verse which also happens to use the same Hebrew for hover that described the Spirit of God hovering over creation in the beginning. Fear is an enemy with a power to create torment and disruptive behavior. Fear also has the power to neutralize a person's deep faith and absolute trust in the power and wisdom of God. When the children of God believe in the faithfulness of God and the unchanging power of His promise to protect, lead, and provide for them, it lays a strong foundation for exercising absolute confidence in His ability to provide for their spiritual salvation, too. When a child of God dwells in his secret place, there is no reason to be frozen because of the terror that comes by night or the arrow that flieth by day. It is important to note again that even when we find ourselves in trouble, God is able to be with us in the midst of it. Often we have an impulse to rush past the in the midst onto the deliverance. But the psalmist reminds us that God is with us in our trouble while it is still happening. God promises here that those who put their faith in Him will receive deliverance, honor, long life, and salvation. In the midst of our difficult seasons, we can hold on to God's promise that although our suffering may not end today or even next week, God is with us. Our ultimate end is to see the salvation of God in this life in Jesus Christ and the life to come. Here's our lesson. The most appropriate way to dwell in God's shelter is prayer, listening, and talking to Him. Sadly, many Christians use prayer as a last resort. Bullying at school and online is commonplace, particularly with our youth. Many of us have seen the horrors of hurricanes and other natural disasters. The church can help alleviate the fears of unbelievers and new Christians in the face of medical diagnoses and wars by modeling the faith of the author of Psalm 91.